Do you know the average American spends more than 6 hours a day staring at screens, but less than 6 minutes looking inside their own mind? Pause for a moment. Really pause. Imagine the gap, the hours scrolling, tapping, binge-watching, endless scrolling, and yet the mind itself rarely gets a single glance. That silence, that absence of awareness, is not just a statistic. It's a wake-up call. I'll be honest with you. I've been there. Late at night, alone in a dimly lit room, phone in hand, endlessly flipping through social feeds, looking for something I didn't even know I was missing. It wasn't entertainment. It wasn't connection. It was craving, the mind running on autopilot. You know that restless, jittery energy that never lets you be still? That's the symptom, not the disease. Years ago, I thought mindfulness was a buzzword, something for people with yoga mats and incense sticks. The idea of sitting still, breathing, observing my thoughts without acting on them sounded almost boring. And yet, something inside me was screaming, "You're missing something. You're lost inside yourself." It was during one particularly sleepless night, while the city hummed quietly outside my window, that I first encountered the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh. I had picked up a small book at a friend's recommendation, simple words on peace, presence, and the art of being truly alive. I read a line, then reread it. The most precious gift we can offer anyone is our presence. When mindfulness embraces those we love, they will bloom like flowers. I didn't fully understand it yet, but my restless mind paused for the first time in months. Just a breath, just a line on a page, and suddenly, it felt like a crack in the walls I had built around myself. That tiny moment planted a seed that would grow slowly, quietly, into a way of living. Later, I learned that I wasn't alone in feeling this gap between constant stimulation and inner emptiness. Jon Kabat-Zinn, one of the pioneers of mindfulness in the United States, found that even busy professionals, doctors, executives, students, struggle with this mental chatter that sabotages our clarity, focus, and even happiness. He introduced mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, decades ago, and the results were striking. People who took just a few minutes a day to observe their thoughts and anchor themselves in the present experienced less anxiety, more calm, and a stronger sense of control. It's fascinating, isn't it? Here we are, surrounded by technology that connects us to the world instantly, yet we're disconnected from the only place we truly live, our own minds. And if we don't notice it, that disconnection manifests in ways we often blame on other things. Stress at work, traffic, relationships. But the real culprit is internal, invisible, relentless, the mind that never stops. I remember sitting in a meditation hall in California, listening to a teacher who had studied under Vietnamese Zen masters. He said something that hit me like a thunderclap. You cannot stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. At the time, I thought, surf? I can barely swim in my own thoughts. But the metaphor stuck. Mindfulness isn't about silencing the mind. It's about learning to ride its waves without being tossed around. In that moment of silence, just a few seconds of real, present awareness, I realized that change didn't need to be dramatic. I didn't need a guru, a retreat, or a perfect life. I only needed a willingness to observe, a willingness to breathe, a willingness to be here, now. Let's face it, our culture glorifies speed, productivity, constant doing. We think we're missing out if we stop. But the truth is, the most important discoveries happen in the stillness, not the scroll. This is where mindfulness steps in. Not as a luxury, not as a spiritual cliche, but as a tool you can use immediately, wherever you are, to reclaim your attention, your peace, and yes, even your joy. For me, the turning point wasn't about escaping life. It was about showing up in it. I began to notice small things, the warmth of sunlight on my skin, the sound of birds outside my apartment, the rhythm of my own breathing. Each moment of awareness chipped away at the restlessness that had felt permanent, and with each chip, I felt lighter, clearer, more present. Even in moments when life felt overwhelming, mindfulness offered a refuge. I started studying Thich Nhat Hanh's practices more deeply, learning how to walk, breathe, and eat mindfully. I read stories of American teachers, people like Sharon Salzberg, Jack Kornfield, and Joseph Goldstein, who had brought ancient Buddhist wisdom into the modern world, making it accessible for people like me, struggling to find calm in chaos. Their words weren't abstract. They were actionable, grounded, and surprisingly gentle. And here's the kicker. Mindfulness didn't just make me calmer. It gave me freedom. Freedom from compulsive reactions, from chasing fleeting pleasures, from the endless loop of craving. It showed me that happiness isn't something to be found outside. It's cultivated inside. It's cultivated in the mind, moment by moment, breath by breath. So here's my invitation. Pause with me for a moment now. Breathe. Notice the space around you. Notice the weight of your body, the rise and fall of your chest, the rhythm of your thoughts. You don't have to change anything yet. Just notice. That small pause, the shock of realizing how little time we spend with ourselves, followed by the silence of true awareness, is the first step. It's not dramatic, it's not flashy, but it's real, and it's transformative. In the next section, we'll dive into the hidden enemy that makes this so hard, the restless mind that drives all our cravings, impulses, and distractions. But for now, hold on to this moment. Let it sink in. This is the beginning of seeing your mind clearly, without judgment, without rushing, without distraction. This is the first breath of freedom. And if you're ready, I'll guide you further into the journey that has not only changed my life, but has helped countless others find calm, clarity, and even joy through mindfulness, meditation, and the timeless wisdom of Thich Nhat Hanh and other great teachers. Take a deep breath, let it out, and let's begin. We're often taught to look outside for the source of our problems. Traffic jams, bosses, bills, relationships. These are the usual suspects. But here's the truth. The real enemy is not outside. It's inside. It's the restless mind that never stops talking, judging, craving, and planning. Imagine a wild horse galloping inside your head. It doesn't matter how comfortable your surroundings are, how perfect your life looks on Instagram, or how many achievements you've stacked up. That horse doesn't care. It tosses you around, drags you toward every fleeting desire, every anxiety, every frustration. You think you're in control, but you're just holding on for dear life. This is where compulsive habits, especially around sexuality, food, or endless digital stimulation, take root. They're not inherently bad, but they become chains when they're driven by a mind that can't pause. I've seen it in my own life. There were nights I'd scroll endlessly, watch things I knew weren't healthy, and feel a gnawing emptiness afterward. I blamed the world, my stress, even my loneliness. But deep down, I knew it was the mind, not the circumstances. Thich Nhat Hanh often says, "Your mind is like a garden. What you plant is what will grow." If your mind is restless, craving, and uncontrolled, the garden becomes a jungle. You can water it with mindfulness, and slowly, but surely, it transforms. I remember sitting with a friend in a meditation class in California. He was open, curious, but also frustrated. He had tried everything: therapy, self-help books, even intense workouts, but he kept coming back to the same pattern: constant desire, distraction, dissatisfaction. The teacher asked him, "Are you aware of the mind behind your desire, or are you just reacting to it?" He was silent. Most of us are silent at that question because it cuts straight to the heart of the issue. The enemy isn't your job, your partner, or your stress level. It's the mind running on autopilot, unaware of its own movements, unaware that it is causing suffering. Even scientific research supports this. Neuroscientists studying the brain have found that when we're distracted or compulsive, certain circuits, the default mode network, are hyperactive. This network fuels daydreaming, self-criticism, and craving. The mind literally loops over and over, reinforcing itself, making it harder to step out of the cycle. It's like a hamster on a wheel, exhausting, endless, invisible. But here's the key. The enemy is only as powerful as our ignorance allows. Once you recognize it, you begin to shift the relationship. You start seeing the horse galloping rather than being dragged by it. You notice the impulses rather than being controlled by them. That awareness is the first crack in the armor. I experienced this one evening while walking through a quiet park in Oregon. The city lights faded behind me, and for the first time, I noticed my own thought patterns. The usual urge to check my phone, to distract myself, to chase fleeting pleasure, it was there. But I also noticed something else. The urge didn't have to dictate my actions. I could watch it, acknowledge it, and let it pass. That simple act, that tiny pause, was revolutionary. American mindfulness teachers like Sharon Salzberg emphasize the same principle. She calls it observing the mind without judgment. We don't try to force it to stop. We don't scold ourselves for having cravings. We simply see what's happening, and when we see, we gain a choice. This is especially crucial when it comes to sexual cravings or compulsive behaviors. In a culture saturated with explicit content and instant gratification, it's easy to blame the outside world. But the real struggle is always internal. It's the inability to sit with discomfort, the refusal to feel boredom, loneliness, or longing. Mindfulness teaches us that these feelings are temporary. They don't need to be acted upon. We can acknowledge them, breathe through them, and let them pass. Thich Nhat Hanh has a beautiful analogy. When a wave rises, it doesn't mean the ocean is disturbed. The wave is just a wave. Thoughts, desires, impulses, they are waves. If we identify with them, we are tossed around. If we notice them, we can ride them gracefully. I've watched people transform this way, right here in the US. Professionals who once felt enslaved to their urges, college students who struggled with distraction, anyone who felt addicted to stimulation. They discovered that simply observing their impulses without acting on them created a profound sense of freedom. One student told me, "I realized I could feel desire without being destroyed by it. For the first time, I had space to choose." Even the Buddha spoke to this centuries ago. He taught that craving, tanha, is the root of suffering. It's not the world or the people in it. It's the mind clinging, grasping, and never satisfied. The remedy, he explained, is awareness. To see clearly, to understand the impermanent nature of thoughts and desires, and to develop insight that liberates the heart. This is why mindfulness is so radical. It doesn't require us to fight or suppress. It doesn't demand perfection. It simply asks us to look inside, to witness, and to breathe. That's it. That's the beginning of true freedom from the hidden enemy. Let me give you a concrete example. I once had a period in my life where my sexual urges felt overwhelming. I thought I was powerless. But a teacher reminded me, notice it. Don't fight it. Watch it like a passing cloud. At first I laughed. How could something so strong just be noticed? But I tried. I sat quietly, observed my sensations, my thoughts, my desire, and then, without doing anything, I felt the tension loosen. It wasn't gone completely, but I had space. And in that space, I made a choice, not to act compulsively, not to feel shame, not to push it down, just awareness. Over time, those small moments added up. The wild horse inside my head became less frantic, less dangerous, more like a companion I could ride rather than be dragged by. That's the power of seeing the hidden enemy clearly. Here's what you can do right now. Notice your own mind. Don't judge. Don't try to fix it. Just watch. Where does your attention wander? What cravings appear? What thoughts repeat endlessly? And breathe. That simple practice over and over begins to loosen the grip of the restless mind. The hidden enemy thrives on distraction, shame, and avoidance. Mindfulness cuts through all three. You don't need to blame yourself. You don't need to wait for external circumstances to change. All you need is awareness and the courage to look honestly at the mind you carry with you every day. Next, we'll explore the turning point. The moment when ordinary people, including myself, discovered mindfulness and meditation as a real, practical solution. You'll see how small encounters, seemingly simple practices, can completely shift your relationship with desire, distraction, and the chaos of modern life. But for now, hold on to this. The enemy isn't outside, it's inside. It's relentless, invisible, and convincing. And it's also completely transformable once you start seeing it clearly. Sometimes, change sneaks up on you in the smallest, most unexpected moments. You don't plan it, you don't see it coming, and yet, once it arrives, everything feels different. That's exactly how I first encountered mindfulness, and why it became a turning point in my life. I was sitting in my apartment one evening, exhausted, restless, and completely drained from my own habits. My mind was like that wild horse we talked about, galloping in every direction, pulling me toward cravings, distractions, and endless stress. I had tried self-discipline countless times, tracking hours, setting goals, promising myself I'd stop, but nothing worked. Each failure left me feeling more isolated, more trapped. Then, almost by accident, I picked up a book by Thich Nhat Hanh. I didn't intend for it to change anything. I just needed something to read while procrastinating on work. But as I opened it, the words seemed to reach directly into the chaos of my mind. Drink your tea slowly and reverently, as if it is the axis on which the world Earth revolves. Slowly, evenly, without rushing toward the future. Live the actual moment. Only this moment is life. I read it once. I read it twice. And suddenly I realized I had been rushing through my own life, unaware of it, trapped in patterns that didn't serve me. I wasn't just distracted, I was missing everything. And yet, in that tiny, quiet moment, something shifted. My mind paused. I could feel it, a subtle but undeniable space opening inside me, a crack in the mental noise. It wasn't dramatic. There were no fireworks, no sudden epiphany that fixed everything instantly. But it was real. That pause was the turning point. For the first time, I saw that mindfulness wasn't boring, it wasn't inaccessible, and it didn't require me to escape from life. It was about engaging life more fully, seeing clearly, breathing, and being present. Later, I explored American mindfulness teachers who had translated these ideas into practices we could actually apply. Sharon Salzberg, Jack Kornfield, and Joseph Goldstein emphasized the power of small, consistent practices, noticing your breath, observing your thoughts without judgment, and returning to the present moment again and again. Their guidance was practical and unpretentious. You didn't have to retreat to a monastery or give up your life to start. You just needed to start. I remember my first real attempt at formal meditation. I sat on the floor of my living room, closed my eyes, and focused on my breath. One inhale, one exhale. That was it. But my mind immediately started spinning. Thoughts about emails, obligations, regrets, and cravings flooded in. At first, I felt frustrated and restless. I wanted to give up. But then I remembered something Thich Nhat Hanh had written. Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. So I anchored myself in the breath, in and out, noticing each sensation, each wave of thought, each surge of desire, without needing to act on it. 10 minutes felt like an hour. My mind still wandered, but for the first time, I wasn't pulled into every thought. I was noticing, witnessing, breathing. That tiny shift, that awareness, was monumental. That evening, I realized something crucial. I didn't need to eliminate desire or restlessness. I didn't need to fix myself. I only needed to notice, to pause, to breathe, and to return to the present moment again and again. This simple, radical practice, the core of mindfulness, was something I could carry anywhere. It was my secret weapon against the chaos of my own mind. I've seen this turning point happen for others as well. One student I met in a meditation retreat in California described it perfectly. He had struggled with compulsive behaviors for years, feeling powerless and ashamed. But one day, after a single guided mindfulness session, he realized he could feel his impulses without being controlled by them. He described it like seeing a storm from a distance. I couldn't stop the rain, but I wasn't drowning in it anymore. This is the essence of the turning point. It's not about dramatic transformation overnight. It's about a first, undeniable experience of awareness that changes your relationship with your mind. It's the moment you see that the chaos, the restlessness, the craving, you don't have to be dragged by them. You can pause, breathe, and choose differently. Thich Nhat Hanh often emphasizes small steps, great mindfulness. Even 1 minute of conscious breathing can shift your state. One mindful pause can interrupt a cycle of compulsive behavior. One moment of noticing the mind can plant a seed that grows into lasting change. The turning point is rarely sudden. It's subtle, quiet, and personal. For me, the turning point didn't just help with stress or anxiety. It transformed how I experienced desire. The compulsions that once felt overwhelming became manageable. I began to see them as natural waves, neither good nor bad, that could be observed without judgment. Over time, I discovered freedom in this simple practice, and a new sense of dignity and self-respect emerged. Science supports this too. Studies of mindfulness meditation show that even brief periods of practice can reduce activity in the brain's default mode network, which fuels compulsive thinking and craving. In other words, those first few minutes of mindfulness aren't just anecdotal. They literally begin to rewire the brain, helping us respond rather than react, to feel rather than act impulsively. And it's not just about sitting quietly. The turning point often happens in daily life, walking to work, washing dishes, eating a meal. Anything can become a doorway into mindfulness. Jack Kornfield often teaches that mindfulness is not about withdrawing from life. It's about entering life more fully. When you notice your breath while commuting, you notice your thoughts without being swept away. When you observe desire without judgment, you create space between impulse and action. Here's a personal example. There was a night I felt the familiar urge to escape into old habits, compulsive scrolling, unhealthy distractions. Normally, I would have given in immediately, but this time I remembered the turning point I had experienced in my first meditation sessions. I paused. I breathed. I noticed my desire without acting on it. 10 minutes later, the urge had softened. I didn't resist it. I simply observed it. That small pause was a turning point in itself, a practice that could be repeated, strengthened, and relied upon. This is what makes mindfulness revolutionary. It doesn't rely on motivation, willpower, or perfection. It relies on awareness, repetition, and presence. The turning point is simply the first undeniable experience of this truth, that you can observe, that you can pause, and that your mind doesn't control you. In the next section, we'll explore the secret weapon, the practical, actionable tools that make mindfulness more than an idea. You'll learn 3 simple keys that you can start using immediately to anchor yourself, transform suffering, and regain control over impulses. But for now, hold on to this moment. Remember the first time your mind paused, even slightly, amidst chaos. That pause is proof. It's a glimpse of freedom. And it's the beginning of a journey that can change your relationship with desire, distraction, and the endless noise of modern life. The turning point is real. It's waiting for anyone willing to pause, notice, and breathe. And once you experience it, you realize your life doesn't need to be dictated by the restless horse in your head. You can choose differently. You can live differently. You can begin to reclaim your own mind. It's not just a philosophy or a vague suggestion to calm down and breathe. It's a secret weapon, invisible yet powerful, always available to you. No subscription needed, no fancy equipment, no expensive retreat required. And the best part? Everyone already has it. It's just waiting to be noticed, activated, and practiced. Let me tell you why I call it a weapon. In the modern world, the mind is constantly under attack. Phones buzz, notifications ping, desires flare, and old habits pull you like a magnet. Your attention is scattered, your energy drained, and your sense of peace almost non-existent. The secret weapon of mindfulness gives you something most people spend a lifetime searching for: control over your own mind. It's simple. but it works, and it begins with 3 small keys. Key number 1, breath is the anchor. The first key is deceptively simple, your breath. It's right there, always with you, and yet most of us ignore it. When life feels overwhelming, compulsions rise, or stress threatens to take over, the breath is your anchor. You can return to it moment by moment and let it stabilize your mind. I remember a particularly intense evening, sitting in my apartment after hours of scrolling, my mind spinning with cravings and anxiety. I felt trapped, as though every impulse was a tidal wave ready to pull me under. Then I remembered something Thich Nhat Hanh taught. Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. So I closed my eyes, took a slow inhale, and felt the air fill my lungs. I exhaled, noticing the release. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3. In that simple act, the storm inside me began to settle. The wild horse that had been dragging me around my thoughts slowed, and for the first time in hours, I could observe rather than react. American mindfulness teachers like Jon Kabat-Zinn emphasize the same principle. He teaches that the breath is not just a physical process. It's a tool for returning to the present, for noticing the mind without being swept away. Even a single minute of conscious breathing can shift your state, soften impulses, and bring clarity. Key number 2, now is the only time we own. The second key is the present moment. Desire, craving, and compulsion always live in the future or the past. I'll feel better if I do this, or I need that to be satisfied. The mind is constantly chasing illusions, missing the life that's happening right now. Mindfulness teaches us that the only moment we truly own is this one. I learned this during a retreat with Sharon Salzberg. She had us walk slowly, paying attention to every step. Most of us rush through, wanting the meditation to be over or thinking about other things. Then she said something that changed the way I viewed desire. The present moment is all there is. To live fully, you must step into it completely. I realized how much of my compulsive behavior was rooted in escaping the present. I craved distractions because I wasn't willing to feel life as it was. Boring moments, discomfort, tension, even pleasure. By anchoring myself in the now, I discovered a profound freedom. Impulses still came, but they didn't dictate my actions. I could notice them, breathe, and continue living without being hijacked. Jack Kornfield calls this choiceless awareness. The moment you stop resisting what is, you gain control over how you respond. You stop being a victim of your own impulses. You start being a conscious participant in your own life. Key number 3, awareness transforms pain. The third key is awareness itself. This is the most subtle, but also the most transformative. When we notice cravings, discomfort, or even pain, without judgment or reaction, something miraculous happens. The energy of suffering changes. It doesn't disappear immediately, but it begins to soften, to flow instead of stagnate. I recall a night when I felt an intense urge to escape into compulsive behaviors. Normally, I would have given in automatically, but I remembered the practice. Notice, observe, breathe. I allowed myself to feel the urge fully, naming it silently in my mind. There is craving, there is desire. I didn't fight it, I didn't suppress it, and I didn't act. A few minutes later, the tension had shifted. The desire was still there, but it no longer controlled me. Awareness transformed the energy from something consuming into something manageable. I had created a gap between impulse and action, and in that gap, freedom lived. This principle isn't just spiritual advice, it's neuroscience. Studies show that mindfulness increases activity in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for self-regulation and decision-making, while calming the amygdala, the part of the brain that triggers fear and reactive impulses. In other words, mindfulness literally rewires the brain to respond instead of react. Thich Nhat Hanh emphasizes this repeatedly. Mindfulness is the energy that helps us recognize the conditions of happiness that are already present in our lives. Awareness allows you to see what is real, not what your mind is constantly fabricating or craving. When we cultivate this awareness consistently, we transform pain into insight, suffering into freedom, and restlessness into clarity. Let me give you a concrete example. A friend of mine in Los Angeles struggled with compulsive sexual behaviors for years. He felt shame, frustration, and a sense of being trapped. During a mindfulness workshop led by Jack Kornfield, he was guided to observe his sensations without acting. Initially, he resisted, but over a few minutes, he began to notice the impulses without judgment. That simple practice created space. By repeatedly returning to the breath and the present moment, he discovered that desire didn't need to be acted on to exist. Awareness itself became his weapon of liberation. Here's the beauty of these 3 keys. They're simple, portable, and immediately applicable. You don't need special equipment or training. You don't need to change your life overnight. You just need to start. Breath anchors you. Now is the only time you own. Awareness transforms pain. That's it. You can start with 1 minute. 1 minute of conscious breathing. 1 minute of noticing impulses without reacting. 1 minute of stepping fully into the present. Over time, those minutes compound, like tiny deposits in a bank of mental freedom. The wild horse becomes rideable. The restless mind becomes an ally. Desire becomes something observed, not something that enslaves you. And this is why mindfulness is such a powerful secret weapon for dealing with compulsive behavior, craving, and overstimulation. It doesn't rely on guilt, willpower, or shame. It relies on awareness, on presence, on returning to the moment again and again. That's how real change happens, not through force, but through conscious observation. In the next section, we'll put this into practice with a mini experience you can try immediately. 30 seconds, maybe a minute, is enough to feel the difference. You'll see firsthand how the secret weapon works, not just as an idea, but as a lived experience. For now, remember this: the weapon is yours. It's simple, it's portable, it's immediate, and with practice, it has the power to transform desire, suffering, and restlessness into clarity, peace, and freedom. Let's pause for a moment, not just mentally, but physically. Right now, you don't need to move to a quiet room or clear your schedule. You don't need a cushion or a mat. You only need 1 minute, maybe even 30 seconds. That's enough. The magic of mindfulness is that it works instantly if only you let yourself notice. And this is where theory turns into experience. You've read about the restless mind, the hidden enemy, the turning point, and the secret weapon. But now it's time to feel it for yourself. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes if you can. If not, soften your gaze. Take a slow breath in and slowly exhale. Notice the sensation of air moving through your nose, filling your lungs, expanding your chest. One more time, in and out, anchoring yourself in the rhythm of your own body. Now, gently observe your thoughts. Don't try to stop them. Don't judge them. Don't push them away. They will come. Memories, worries, desires, impulses. Simply notice them. Name them if it helps. There is thinking. There is craving. There is planning. As Thich Nhat Hanh often reminds us, feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. The clouds may be fast, dramatic, or even frightening, but they are not permanent. The sky, the mind's awareness, is always vast, calm, and open. You are that sky. Your thoughts are just clouds. Take another slow breath, in and out, and notice the space between thoughts. That space is your proof of freedom. Even for a few seconds, your mind is quieter. You may feel it, or you may just sense it, a subtle release, a pause in the usual tension. That's enough. 1 minute of mindfulness has already shifted your state. I remember the first time I tried this. I was overwhelmed by cravings and compulsive behavior. I didn't know if it would work. I sat on my bed, closed my eyes, and simply noticed my breath. Thoughts came, desires rose, but I didn't act. I just watched. After 30 seconds, I felt a gap, a pause, a tiny relief. It was astonishing. Something inside me knew. I could create space between impulse and action. That tiny pause was freedom. American mindfulness teachers use the same principle in workshops across the country. Sharon Salzberg often starts sessions with 1-minute breathing exercises. Students report that even this short pause helps reduce anxiety, improves focus, and interrupts compulsive thinking. Jack Kornfield emphasizes that mindfulness is not about long hours in silence. It's about small, repeated experiences that build a new relationship with your mind. Let's try one more step. As you breathe, bring awareness to your body. Notice your feet on the floor, your hands resting, the weight of your body on the chair or cushion. Scan slowly from head to toe. Where is there tension? Where is there relaxation? Simply observe. Don't try to change it. Awareness itself is transformative. Finally, bring attention to a sensation or feeling that arises. Maybe it's craving, maybe tension, maybe impatience. Name it silently. There is craving. There is restlessness. Notice it without reacting. Watch it as it rises, shifts, and eventually begins to soften. Now take one more deep breath, in and out. Open your eyes slowly. Pause. Notice your mind. Do you feel it a little quieter, even for just 10 seconds? That is proof. Mindfulness is not abstract. It's not theory. It's lived. It works immediately. I've seen students and friends experience this proof of concept countless times. A college student in Boston said, I didn't believe it would 30 seconds, but I actually felt less anxious, more present, and a little lighter. Another friend, struggling with compulsive sexual behaviors, found that these micro-practices gave him the first glimpse of control he had felt in years. Even Thich Nhat Hanh emphasizes that mindfulness is about tiny steps. One mindful breath, one observation, one moment of presence, repeated again and again, is enough to transform your relationship with your mind and your impulses. It's the cumulative effect that matters. The first 30 seconds or 1 minute is your entry point. The rest builds naturally from there. Here's a practical tip. Integrate mini mindfulness sessions into your daily life. While waiting for your coffee to brew, during a traffic light, before checking your phone, take one conscious breath. Anchor yourself. Observe your thoughts. Step into the present. The more often you do it, the more natural it becomes. Even small interruptions of restlessness or compulsive desire train the mind to pause, notice, and respond differently. This is also where mindfulness meets real life. You don't need to isolate yourself from the world to practice it. You don't need to be perfect or avoid desire entirely. The secret is awareness. When you notice your impulses, when you create space between action and reaction, you are practicing mindfulness and practicing freedom. I want you to feel this deeply. In 30 seconds or a minute, your mind has already shifted. You have proof that the restless horse can slow, that compulsive thoughts can be observed, that desire can exist without controlling you. This is the power of the mini experience. And here's the best part. It's repeatable, portable, and immediate. Anywhere, anytime, you can pause, breathe, notice, and reset. That is why mindfulness is such a practical, effective tool for modern life, especially for handling craving, compulsive behavior, and the endless noise of digital distraction. In the next section, we'll extend this experience into a longer journey, exploring how daily mindfulness practice transforms life, not just for minutes, but for years. You'll see how simple, repeated practice builds resilience, clarity, and freedom. For now, take a moment to acknowledge what just happened. Even in this tiny window, you created space, you observed the mind, and you exercised your secret weapon. That is the essence of mindfulness in action. And remember, this is just the beginning. Each mini experience compounds, shaping a new way of being that is calmer, clearer, and more free. Let's take a moment to be honest with ourselves. Life isn't always easy. We all have moments of stress, restlessness, and craving. I've been there. You've been there. Maybe you've spent hours scrolling, chasing distractions, or giving in to impulses that leave you feeling empty. You've probably blamed work, relationships, or circumstances. But deep down, you know it's your mind, the restless, insistent, never still mind that has been driving the chaos. I've been in that place. I remember nights filled with frustration, craving, and self-judgment. I wanted peace, clarity, and control, but it seemed unreachable. Every attempt to just stop or just discipline myself ended in failure. I felt trapped. I felt powerless. And then I discovered mindfulness, and everything began to change. It started small, a few breaths, a pause, observing thoughts without judgment. At first, it seemed almost too simple to matter, but slowly, day by day, moment by moment, the transformation began. Cravings became less urgent, stress softened, desire didn't disappear, but it stopped controlling me. I started to feel a sense of freedom I had never experienced before. Thich Nhat Hanh calls this gentle but powerful awareness. He reminds us that the path to peace isn't about forcing the mind into submission. It's about noticing, breathing, and returning to the present moment again and again. It's about showing up for ourselves, even when life feels messy, chaotic, or overwhelming. American teachers like Jack Kornfield and Sharon Salzberg echo this principle. Kornfield often says, "We learn to love ourselves by learning to be present with ourselves." Salzberg emphasizes the power of simple, repeated practice. Even a few minutes of mindfulness a day compounds into profound change. Here's my invitation to you. Start now. Start where you are. You don't need a perfect life, a quiet retreat, or hours of free time. You need one breath, one observation, one conscious moment. If 1 minute can shift your state, imagine what a daily practice could do for your entire life. That's why I created this channel, Mindfulness, to guide people step by step toward real transformation, using practices that are practical, approachable, and grounded in both ancient wisdom and modern science. I want you to see it for yourself. Try the mini experience we practiced earlier. Breathe. Notice your thoughts. Observe impulses without acting on them. Just 1 minute. You'll feel a small shift. And then, do it again tomorrow and the next day. Each repetition strengthens your awareness, builds resilience, and creates freedom from the chaos of the restless mind. I also invite you to explore longer practices gradually. Maybe 5 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, a mindful walk through the park, a meal eaten slowly, savoring every bite. These are not exercises in perfection. They are exercises in showing up, observing, and participating fully in your own life. I know this works because I've seen it transform lives. A friend of mine, struggling with compulsive habits for years, told me that after just 2 weeks of daily mindfulness practice, he felt a sense of control he had never experienced before. Another student, overwhelmed by stress at work, discovered that pausing to notice her breath and observe her thoughts allowed her to respond to challenges calmly, rather than react impulsively. These are not rare miracles. They are the natural result of consistent conscious awareness. The invitation is simple. Take the first step. Make space for mindfulness in your life. Let yourself breathe. Let yourself observe. Let yourself pause. You don't have to do it perfectly. You don't have to do it forever. You just have to start. Imagine what it could be like if you accepted this invitation. What if, instead of being carried away by craving, distraction, or restlessness, you could create space to respond consciously? What if, instead of reacting with guilt or shame, you could observe, breathe, and choose? What if mindfulness became a companion in every part of your life, from work to relationships, from stress to desire? This is the turning point waiting for you. It's the moment you decide to show up for yourself. It's the moment you give yourself permission to notice, breathe, and return to the present. It's the moment you discover that peace, clarity, and freedom are not somewhere outside. They are already inside, waiting for your attention. Thich Nhat Hanh often reminds us, the miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth, dwelling deeply in the present moment, fully alive. Mindfulness is that miracle, and it begins with your willingness to take the first step. So here's my invitation, plain and simple. Join me on this journey. Explore mindfulness with intention and consistency. Practice the mini experiences. Anchor yourself in your breath. Notice your thoughts. Observe your impulses. Step fully into the present moment. You'll be surprised how much power, clarity, and freedom you already have, simply waiting to be recognized. And when you're ready, let mindfulness be your guide. This channel exists to support you in taking small, practical steps every day. Through simple exercises, real-life guidance, and the wisdom of Thich Nhat Hanh and influential American teachers like Jack Kornfield and Sharon Salzberg, mindfulness shows you how to bring calm, clarity, and control into the chaos of modern life. The invitation is here. The path is simple. The only requirement is your willingness to show up, even for a single moment. That single moment can change everything. You have everything you need inside you, the breath, the awareness, the presence, to take that first step. Step into the journey, notice your mind, breathe, observe, repeat, and watch as your life begins to transform. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. The sun is just beginning to filter through your window. You stretch, not in a rush, not racing to grab your phone or check emails, not dragging yesterday's stress with you. You pause. You take a breath. One long, conscious inhale and exhale. Notice the simple miracle of existing in this moment. Feel the weight of your body on the bed, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the air filling your lungs. This is not fantasy. It's a possibility for your life, starting now. The same restless mind that once dragged you around doesn't disappear, but something has shifted. You have seen it. You have noticed it. You have anchored yourself in the present. As you rise, imagine walking through your morning routine with this awareness. You pour coffee with full attention, noticing the warmth, the aroma, the liquid moving slowly into your cup. You taste each sip. You walk to work, feeling your steps, noticing the world around you without being lost in thought. Cravings and impulses may arise, but they no longer dominate. You respond consciously, not reactively. You are awake. You are free. Thich Nhat Hanh calls this walking meditation, and he teaches that every step, every breath, every moment can be an act of mindfulness. Jack Kornfield describes it as bringing sacredness into the ordinary. And Sharon Salzberg reminds us that even a single minute of conscious attention can shift our inner state profoundly. These are not abstract teachings. They are lived, practical, and transformative. Picture a day where you move through life with this awareness. Traffic jams don't send you into frustration. Emails don't pull you into anxiety. Desire doesn't hijack your actions. You experience life fully, moment by moment, without being carried away by old patterns. The restless horse inside your mind still exists, but now you are riding it, guiding it, rather than being dragged helplessly. This is the cinematic ending I want you to hold on to. You, fully present, fully alive, moving through life with clarity, calm, and freedom. You are not perfect, and you will still have challenges. The difference is that mindfulness gives you the tools to meet them with presence rather than reaction. You discover that happiness and peace are not something to chase. They are already present when you step into the now. Think about it. A single breath, a pause, an observation. These small, repeated acts are the doorway to freedom. You've already experienced it in the mini exercises. You've learned the secret weapons, the breath, the present moment, and awareness. You've seen the turning point. You've been invited to take the journey. And now you see the possibility of a life lived fully awake, free from being constantly pulled by craving or distraction. Even in moments of challenge, you can return to this cinematic vision. Sitting at your desk, feeling tension rise or noticing a craving emerge, you can pause, breathe, and observe. You can create space. You can make a conscious choice. That is the heart of mindfulness. That is the freedom that Thich Nhat Hanh, Jack Kornfield, Sharon Salzberg, and countless teachers have been guiding us toward for decades. And here's the most beautiful part. This is available to everyone, including you. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment, and you don't need extraordinary circumstances. All it takes is one breath, one moment of noticing, and a willingness to step into the present. That is the cinematic power of mindfulness. As you close your eyes for a moment, breathe in deeply. Feel your presence. Notice your body, your thoughts, your sensations. Exhale slowly. Smile gently to yourself. Even if just for a few seconds, you have tasted freedom. You have touched clarity. You have glimpsed peace. And now, as you open your eyes, take this experience into your day. Let mindfulness be your companion, reminding you that every breath, every step, every moment is an opportunity to live awake. This channel exists to guide you, inspire you, and help you transform tiny moments into a life of clarity, calm, and joy. Picture the scene one last time. You wake tomorrow not rushing, not overwhelmed, not lost in thought. You breathe, you observe, you respond consciously. The sun rises, birds sing. You step fully into life, anchored in your breath, aware of your mind, free from being dragged by desire or restlessness. You smile. You are alive. You are present. You are free. Pause for a moment. Let this vision sink in. Hold it. Let it inspire your first mindful breath, your first pause, your first step into freedom. The rest of your life doesn't need to be dictated by old patterns. You have the secret weapon within you. You have the invitation. You have the practice. And you have the possibility of waking fully into the miracle of life, moment by moment. 2, 3 seconds of silence now. Just let it settle. And when you open your eyes, remember, mindfulness isn't a dream. It's real. It's yours. You just need to breathe, notice, and step into the present. That is the cinematic ending. That is the life awake.